Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Chrysan here. Sports Shorts brought to you by Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and LeBear's Casino. LeBear's Casino, good place to be this week. It'll be nice and warm. People are going to be not working as much. Maybe your house is a little chilly. Go to LeBear's, nice and warm. Gamble a little bit. Watch some sports at the Barstool Sportsbook.
We'll be out there Saturday morning, Ronnie.
That's right. Looking
Hey,
forward
by
to
the way,
it.
Ronnie, you see the T on my shirt?
Yep.
It stands for Tremonti's, TK, today, Thursday. I mean, I'm rolling with the T's today. I'm on the heater. I got to find a team that starts with the letter T and load up.
And not the Texas Rangers, huh?
Doesn't terrific too. I'm terrific.
So Saturday morning from 10 to noon when we're out there at LeBear's for Sports Shorts Radio, it'll be really cool because as soon as the game ends, the Saints game's going to start. A rare Saturday start for the Saints in the NFL to be playing at Cleveland. So you think it's cold here. It's going to be even colder up there. I've heard temperatures are going to be around 0, minus even potentially for that game. So that'll be noon on Saturday. So we'll be able to do the radio show, have a little lunch, and watch the Saints game right there at the Barstool Sportsbook inside LeBear's Casino. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, TK live from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Let's talk a little LSU recruiting. Obviously, today's going to be a big day because we'll start finding out officially some of the transfer portal people. LSU's
That's Friday. Friday is
was
when
it
they
Friday
announce transfer
tomorrow?
portal.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Go ahead. I got a big comment though.
LSU's expected to sign as many as 10 transfer portal people at the moment. Obviously, they signed 25 high school players yesterday. And, everybody's raving about the class. I mean, it's anywhere, like you said, anywhere from 4 to 8 in the country. And it could even move up today if they get some good news out of IMG with the Ricks kid.
Yeah, Ronnie, first of all, there's no limit on signage. For so many years, everybody was waiting, 25 is all you could get. For 2 years, they're going to do no limit, but you can't go over the 85 scholarship number. It's designed for teams to restock their roster after the pandemic. So that's what it is. Now, Ronnie, speaking of the transfer portal, boy, I've read a lot of things that are crazy. I mean, it's like there was a Pat Narduzzi, the coach at Pitt, talked to a quarterback who's in the portal, never said the name, and the guy said he had 2 $5 million NIL offers, wanted to know what Pitt would offer him. And there's a lot of tampering going on, guys, I mean, it's wild, wild west with no sheriff. And I don't know what the unintended consequences are or how this is going to affect the game going forward. We got to let it play out, like you like to say. But it's been crazy. But, Vanderbilt thinks they signed a great class. Everybody thinks they signed a great class yesterday. And, none of these guys have taken a snap in college yet. I've never been big on the recruiting. 30-plus years I've been doing all this stuff. I just kind of let's judge the recruiting class 2-3 years from now. How many people are still there? And but Tiger fans, and you're a fan of your team, you're scrutinizing the list of guys. LSU's list is very impressive on paper, but like in the pro sports, because I think college football is now professional, right? Everybody getting paid. In pro sports, having the biggest payroll doesn't guarantee you winning the World Series or the NBA title or the Super Bowl. It's going to be the same thing in college, but you can take a snapshot of the last college football playoff ranking thing. The top 20 teams, 15 of those will always be in there because they got the money. Right. And they can throw $5 million NIL at a player they need to get or they want to get. And I mean, it's just craziness, but we're talking about it. And I mean, you got bowl games every day. Had the New Orleans Bowl last night, a little upset, small upset, Western Kentucky blowing out South Alabama. But, man, it's just college football fans, you got plenty to read, plenty to listen to, plenty of video to watch. So have fun.
By the way, shout out to Stephen Miller on that Western Kentucky call, right, on meatandpotatoesusa.com.
Yep.
He had that. I followed his lead, and I went and made a little money. Speaking of making a little money online, I'm 3-0, and in the last 3 games that LSU basketball has won but not covered. I've gone. I told you guys I had a plan to go 5 straight games in a row, no matter the line. Going to take the opponent against LSU basketball, and against a horrific team yesterday, LSU won by 4. And, I know LSU, look, it's LSU basketball's job to do spin control, and they're putting out all these graphics about how their team has only lost one game and the girls are undefeated. First off, the girls haven't played anybody. I mean, literally haven't played anybody. The boys haven't really played anybody either. And look, don't buy in on this LSU men's basketball team. And I mean, I don't mean to be a hater. It's just a fact. Like when they play Arkansas on the 28th, I mean, Tommy, that's going to be ugly, right? But the bottom line is I don't see them winning more than 6 games in the SEC this year in basketball. I don't think they win more than 6. And I don't think I'm overreacting. I think this team is going to struggle to score. They are playing terrible teams and barely surviving in November and December.
Well, I have not been to a game, so I full disclosure, I've not been to a game. But I've talked to several people that have been, people that go to the games all the time, every year, blah blah blah. And they, like you said, I mean, one of them described it to me as like a good AAU team, where guys are from all over the place and they're learning each other, they're learning a new coach, and the new coach is learning them, and it's just there's a big learning curve. We'll use that cliche with the basketball team. Now, yes, they're putting some W's on the board, and that's cool. That's great. But SEC basketball, as we know, has significantly improved in the last 5 to 10 years, top to bottom. You're right. I mean, LSU basketball, we'll see. They'll show their true colors when they get into that SEC slate.
I mean, to me, their goal is to make the NIT. If they can somehow win enough games in the SEC regular season to just be NIT eligible. And I don't know what NIT eligible looks like. I don't know if that's, is that just any SEC team that's worth their salt and willing to play in the NIT? But they'll have a lot of wins because they're playing nobody right now. And so they're going to have, 16, 17 wins. That's probably enough to get in the NIT. But anyway, 3-0 in my 5-game plan. So that means I'm going to be a winner no matter what, because I'm betting the same units for all 5 of those games. And so regardless, I'm going to finish up even if they don't cover the next 2. All right, so LSU football, getting back to that for a minute. The line on LSU Purdue moving around a little bit. I'm surprised it hasn't gone in Purdue's favor, Tommy, because LSU's going to be playing without 3 of its 4 starting defensive linemen. Ali Gay, the latest to say he's not going to play in the postseason. And look, I say this every year, and I'm going to say it again. It's so aggravating that these guys are opting out of playing in bowl games, Tommy, especially if you're a guy who's been at LSU for 3 or 4 years, like an Ali Gay. This is a guy who played on a bowl team last year that was horrific, got destroyed by Kansas State. They didn't have a quarterback. They only had 39 scholarship players. The year before, they didn't even make a bowl game. You would think that a bowl game would mean something, that your school would mean something. And, oh, by the way, in football, it's not like basketball or baseball where there's a million games, right? I mean, basketball plays 82 games in their regular season. Baseball, 162 games. Baseball in college, 56 regular season plus another 10 to 20 postseason games, all that. In football, you have a finite amount of games. You play 12 games. 3 of those games are usually against garbage teams, and if you're a starter, you're out of there by halftime. So there's only and then if you're an offensive player, you don't play when their own defense is on the field. You don't play with special teams. So when you really look at it, you work all your life for a very few amount of plays, in a college career. And it's like all of these guys are worried about everything else except playing football. And I mean, aren't you supposed to love the game? Aren't you supposed to love the sport? Everybody wants to get out of high school early so they can get to college. Everybody wants to get out of college early so they can get to the pros. And then only a few people really make it in the pros. It's just it's at some point, where is the love of playing? Where's the love of competing? And your career is so short, so small. You play so few games. Playing a New Year's Bowl game against the Big Ten opponent on national TV means nothing now. And all of these guys are opting out It's gross, man. It's just gross. It's just another example of why college football is going down the drain with all this NIL and all this transfer portal crap. I mean, we're all going to watch because we got nothing else to do, and we're all brainwashed to believe this is our life. But I mean, like, it's just disgusting.
Well, Ronnie, I don't know if you saw the YouTube with Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback. He was doing a little media thing, and somebody asked him, "Hey, Bryce, did you consider sitting out of the Sugar Bowl?" Obviously, they play in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. And he said, "No, I owe it to my teammates to play the game." Okay, Ronnie, you and I came up when the most important thing was your teammates. Okay, I'm still very good friends with 25 of my teammates, and a bunch of us get together a couple times a year. You do the same thing. I think you owe it to your teammates, but it's a different world now with the money that's involved. And like if Bryce Young would, God forbid, if he break his ankle in the Sugar Bowl, that's going to affect money for him. So he's already making a couple of million from all reports, but I think you owe it to your teammates. But I'm clearly old school, the old guy that says, "Hey, let's line up." I'd love, somebody asked me, 10 years after I was done with baseball, said, "Hey, do you miss the game of baseball?" I said, "Yeah, I'd do anything, line up with my teammates one more time and try to win a baseball game. I don't want to run foul poles before it. I don't want to do any of that. But if I could get with my teammates in that dugout and say, okay, guys, let's try to win. Let's have some fun, try to win," I would trade anything, just about anything for that. But college football, the landscape has changed so much, and going to change more when there's 12 teams in the playoffs here in a couple of years. Going to change more when Oklahoma and Texas get in the SEC. I mean, wow. It's going to give us plenty to talk about. Sports Shorts Daily's happy.
It's definitely one of those things, TK, that is just it's like everybody's a poser. And what I mean by that is it goes back to, I know the baseball world well, and you've got all this travel ball stuff between the ages of 8 and 12 and 14, right? And everybody is they're doing all this travel ball stuff and everything, TK, because they want to get a college scholarship. Everybody wants to, whatever sport it is, it doesn't matter if it's swimming, it doesn't matter, volleyball, everybody wants a college scholarship. Well, first off, I have to point out all the time, baseball scholarships are not full scholarships. Mom and dad is still going to write a check. At best, you're going to get 25%. Maybe if you're a super stud, you get 50% scholarship. Okay, so there are no full scholarship. That five to 10,000 a summer, a year that you're spending on travel ball and everything, isn't going to come back to you in any kind of way. All right, financially, it gives them a better chance, of course, of playing college, but it's not going to save you money or anything like that. The other thing is that so now everybody's in such a rush for the next thing. We got high school kids making verbal commitments their sophomore and junior year in high school for where they're going to go to college. And so as soon as they get to high school, they're worried about where I'm going to go to college. Well, we haven't even finished high school yet. As soon as you get to college, it's like, am I going to go pro? Am I going to go pro? It's just like, man, enjoy the moment, be in the moment, let your feet hit the ground and compete and enjoy what you're doing. It's like these guys don't enjoy playing, Tommy. It's only about where am I on a list and how quickly can I get to the next thing?
I tell you, Ronnie, it's become a very selfish game. Teammates are not as high on the list as they used to be, I guess. But I don't know. You and I aren't in those shoes. If you were a big tight end coming out of Menard right now, and they offering you NIL money galore, you might end up at Colorado with Deion Sanders. It's just different. And I just hope, and I think for every great story you hear, there's probably 1,000 bad stories that didn't work out. And like we said, the chance of getting to the big leagues or the professional level and sticking, slim and none. Okay. By the way, Ronnie, you mentioned travel ball. I have a dear friend, family, who the mom was one of those, watch every penny people. And she, from when he was 8 years old through 14, he played travel ball. I coached him when he was 13 and 14. She estimated that she spent almost $50,000 in those 6 years for travel ball. She added it all over to Youngsville for the tournament, counted that hotel room, So, it's expensive as heck. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say the kid's name, but no shot to play college ball. Right. He was a great high school player. He did a good job. He was on some successful teams. I think he even got to Sulphur, but didn't win it all. And he's not going to play a day of college baseball. So, he's a great kid, great family. He knows that, and he's moved on from the world of baseball, and he's going to do great. And every time I see him, I enjoy seeing him. So, but it's almost like college football is now travel football. Oh, I want to go play for that team. Oh, no. You know what? Hey, wait, Ronnie. If you got to call Bill over here at this university. He told me he could give you $2 million if you came with us. It's travel ball magnified.
By the way, did you see where Arik Gilbert is transferring, the tight end from Georgia? Gilbert.
Arik, yeah.
I mean, then obviously, the prize recruit in the 2020 class, and then then he ended up going to Georgia, and then now he's in the transfer portal. Who knows where he'll end up?
LSU, Florida, and Georgia. Nobody wanted to keep him. The common denominator there is nobody wanted him. How about JT Daniels? He's transferring to Rice. That's his fourth Power 5 school, or big school that Rice had Power 5 that he's going to play for. I mean, he's kind of like, the major league guys who got like 9 hats on the shelf. He's got practice shorts from 4 different schools and the T-shirt that says Rice football and all of that stuff.
How much money has that guy made in NIL? My goodness, off the field. I mean,
but again, Pat Narduzzi. If you search Pat Narduzzi, he's the head coach at Pitt, you might be able to come up with a couple of columns that were written where he said he got a quarterback in the portal on the phone. That quarterback told him he had 2 schools that offered him $5 million NIL.
Incredible.
So, I mean.
All right. So Pelicans, let's talk about them for a minute, because they're a 8-point favorite tonight, TK.
7 o'clock against the Spurs.
7 o'clock against the Spurs. Now, are they playing without Zion, right? Like, he's out for a week with COVID stuff,
if you bet NBA, and a lot of people do, you really got to get that injury report, which comes out approximately 8 hours before the tip. So in this case, it'd be about 11 o'clock this morning. The injury report will come out, and you'll be able to find out if your guy is going to play. You can get access to the information. And NBA does it because they know people gamble. They know people want to know what's going on, which doesn't get into the whole load management when, like, the Spurs or the Warriors sat out their top 4 players in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. That's a whole nother story. But, yeah, so Pelicans had that hot streak, and then they had the cold streak.
As far as the Pelicans are concerned, having a chance to go to the game on Monday night, the Pelicans, I can't wait. About 2 more weeks, they're thinking when Ingram will come back, and they need his firepower, what he can do with his size and the way he can stretch the floor and shoot the 3 over the top of anybody, give them some more, presence and size inside. I'm looking forward to seeing him back. CJ McCollum playing well, not quite like he was last April in the spring when he was just looked like Jordan out there, but he's still a really good player. He needs another consistent scorer on the perimeter. That's what you'll get when Ingram comes back, which will help Zion out. Right now, Zion, every time he gets the ball, he's being fouled by 50% of the time, but he only gets about 50% of the calls because he's so strong. He's so violent going to the rim that the officials, he's so fast. The officials, they miss those calls a lot because he blows through the contact often, and it doesn't look like much. Did
he play the other night? Did Zion play the other night when you were there?
Yeah. He played. He didn't play well the first probably 3 quarters. He kind of going in the fourth.
Well, let me ask you this question. I remember watching Shaq at LSU, and he'd get that ball in a low block, and his body would literally push the other guy 5 feet out of the way. That drop step thing he did. Is that what Zion's doing, but doing it at the NBA level? Is that how powerful he is?
Yeah. I mean, Tommy, this guy, Zion Williamson looks like Marcus Spears. Now, Marcus Spears was actually a pretty good basketball player out of Southern Lab and actually played on the LSU basketball team for a minute. Obviously, much better than Marcus Spears, but he looks like a defensive end tackle type guy on the basketball court.
Didn't Lyle Mouton play some basketball too?
Yeah, Lyle did. Lyle was a good forward. I remember Lyle Mouton, who was the Mr. Gatorade basketball player of the year out of St. Thomas More High School, and I believe 1988. if I remember correctly. And Lyle played 2 years, maybe 3, for LSU basketball. And one of his highlight games that Lyle had coming off the bench, played a good game against Georgetown in the Superdome. When they set a regular season attendance record at the time in the Superdome. And that was the Shoetown game. You could get the free tickets from Shoetown. And Lyle had a really good game defensively and scored a few buckets. I remember that. That was the Ricky Blanton putback on the air ball to win the game. That was awesome, man. I had my foam finger. I was in the stands with my Menard
That's good stuff.
team. We had a great time, man. But anyway, Zion's just so strong. His big move is the spin move, right? Dribble to the right and then reverse pivot and just kind of, he just throws that leg. And and he can just go from the foul line basically to the rim in about 2 steps. And he's just so big and strong. The only thing I will say about Zion's game right now, Tommy, is I think sometimes he looks for the foul call too much. And what I mean by that is as soon as the contact comes, sometimes he's like maybe not mentally, physically thinking, I got to finish. It's like, oh, I was fouled. And it's like, no. You got to know that you're not going to get the call every time. You're not going to get it as often as you think you should. You got to be mentally and physically strong to play through the contact as if you're not going to get that call and still try to make the bucket. And I think sometimes he gets fouled and he kind of like, hey, I'm fouled, as opposed to finishing. But he's so good, and he's just going to continue to get better the more pieces they add around him.
Well, Ronnie, I've watched a good bit of the Pelicans on TV. One thing I know, if I was guarding Zion, I'd try to make him go right because he goes left 99% of the time. And, I think some team, but you can't double team as much in the NBA because they'll find the open guy and they're dunking the ball behind you. So, we'll see if they can't get things straightened out. 8-point favorite's a decent-sized line in the NBA. And we'll see if they can't take care of the Spurs. At home tonight, 7 o'clock tip for those of you that might want to go or watch.
All right. So LSU football, man, when you see an Ali Gay dropping out and you see LSU's offensive line being limited in this game, it makes you think, okay, maybe I should go, Purdue plus 14.5. But then you realize, well, Purdue doesn't have any firepower either. So I don't know where to go in this game, man. Are you going to put a nickel on it? Or you
betting bowl games, you want to put small amounts on, whatever's small for you. Everybody bets different numbers, but I don't think you go too crazy on bowl games. If I had to bet LSU today, I'd lay to 14.5. Now, but LSU, the SEC gets one on the line of scrimmage. And LSU has signed a lot of big dudes on the line of scrimmage, and they got a bunch of transfer guys coming in tomorrow. Hopefully, they'll release. We're going to do this at 9:30 tomorrow. Is that good with you?
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, we got some info before we get on with Sports Shorts Daily tomorrow at 9:30. That's Friday. But it's going to be fun to watch it all unfold. Then you can have all your early enrollees, and then you can have spring practice. I got a feeling the spring game in 2023 is going to have a few more people at it than the last couple of spring games, just because of the curiosity. Plus, you got to figure out who's on the team and who ain't on the team.
Yeah,
like Cam Wires going, the big tackle kid from East Ascension. He's going to Tulane.
I'm going to disagree with you that people are going to come out for the spring game, Tommy, because I thought they'd had a big crowd this year with Brian Kelly, with the quarterback battle being wide open between 3 guys. And they still had people just don't care about spring football at LSU. It's been that way for years. They've never had a night. They've never had a day where they had 45,000 people for the spring game. No, they usually have 10 to 20, maybe. But bowl game today, Baylor 3.5-point favorite over Air Force. Baylor comes in 6-6 on the year. Dave Aranda's squad taking on an Air Force team that's 9-3. Now that game is going to be played in Fort Worth, Texas, the Armed Force Services bowl game. So a little bit of a home crowd, no doubt, for Baylor. Is Meat and Potatoes USA got anything on this game?
No, I haven't posted anything on that one yet. We're going to be posting a lot of games late today. I say late, like 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
All right. So Baylor and Air Force, I'd be tempted to take Baylor, maybe buy that 0.5 point and take Baylor -3 against Air Force. I think that's probably what I'll do. at home, Big 12, all that sort of thing.
You know what, Ronnie? I would like to see if somebody could figure out how many times that half point really comes into play. I know you like to buy a half point
Right.
down or up. Trey Blossom's famous for that. He's one of the consultants at meatandpotatoesusa.com. You know, if it's 7.5, he's buying it down to 7, or if it's 7, he's buying it down to 6.5. Although that 7 hot number ain't what it used to be because of 2-point conversions and all that. And then the NFL with the longer extra point kick. But I wish somebody could tell me, like,
Right.
in a given weekend, how many times did that half a point push it to one side or the other? Because I don't think I've ever bought a half a point or bought down. I just, if it's 3.5, like I had South Alabama minus 3.5 last night. I didn't buy it down to 3, and obviously it didn't matter. And I lost. But I wish somebody researched that.
It's kind of like, to me, for me, the reason I like to buy it is because if I land on 3, it's a push. I don't own anything, don't own any juice. The old days of gambling, if you pushed, you still had to pay the juice to your bookie. Well, nowadays you don't have to do that, right?
So it becomes no bet, yeah.
Right. So so there's value there. Whereas maybe in the olden days, when you push, you still paid the 10% to your bookie, and you don't have to do that anymore. And so that to me creates the value.
And for those that don't understand, when we talk about buy a point, let's say whatever game, and you want to bet $110 to win 100. If you buy a half point, you might have to bet 120 to win 100, or 115, or 125. So, and that's all would be calculated in there when you hit the button, buy half point, up or down. So that's what we mean by buying that point. When you buy that point, you decrease your odds on the return.
By the way, the New Orleans Bowl. I need to talk to the folks down with the New Orleans Sports Foundation and find out the model for bowl games, because it just doesn't seem right. I mean, I get it. Like, for example, when the Independence Bowl, Walk-Ons was a 3-year sponsor of the Independence Bowl. And I want to say they paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 a year to be a sponsor of that bowl. Let's say $400,000 a year to be a sponsor of the bowl game, and it was a 3-year commitment. Now, was that all cash, or did they consider $50,000 of it trade, for catering and things like that? I don't know, but let's just say they paid $400,000 a year. Well, you've got to pay. You got to give guarantees, and then of course ESPN is going to give you some money as well, and you're going to get money from the city. I just want to know how the model works for all of these bowl games. I mean, there was nobody at the game last night in the Super Bowl. Nobody at the game. It looked like a state championship high school football game. There was nobody at the game. So how do they make money? How does it make sense to make money, or is it expected to be a loss, and it's for every city? I don't know.
Well, and for the record, Walk-Ons didn't renew. They didn't re-up with the Independence.
You know what they did do? They went and sponsored the practice week for the Senior Bowl. They took the money, went over to Mobile for the Senior Bowl. So now whenever the teams practice all week long, they have the Walk-Ons logo on their shirt. And there's other things. And they actually feel, and then of course, the big part of that is on social media. Think about it. All these players are coming from all over the country to play. Well, when a offensive lineman from Memphis is getting interviewed, or they're posting stuff back in Memphis about the senior, they're seeing that logo and stuff. And so they like there's partnership with the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl does a great job. So they feel like there's a really good value there.
I think it's a branding thing. Like if you're Walk-On, maybe we can get Brandon Landry to come on one day with us and talk about it, without revealing numbers. I think he would do that if I can run him down, or you can run him down. But I think it's more of just the presence and the name. Just like, does Coca-Cola need to advertise anymore? We all know what Coca-Cola or Diet Coke, Coke Zero, we all know what's what. And if they stop all advertising for a month and saved $1 billion, I don't think their sales would drop. So it's a branding thing. You want your name out there. It's just like if we had the Sports Shorts Daily travel ball tournament, which that would make money on, but I think it's a branding thing. You're just making sure your business logo is there, front and center, top of mind for people, and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, we're going to be back tomorrow morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. TK will be over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Before we get out of here, folks still have time today to go by Tremonti's and get some food.
Yeah, well, here at Tremai's, I got a lot of brisket. They got prime rib. You can get it, or they're going to be open to about 1 o'clock Saturday, which is Christmas Eve. So you got today, tomorrow, and Saturday. You get turkey, ham, whatever you want. Tremendous selection of wine and bourbon. Mike Tremonti just cut up a bunch of steaks for somebody. I mean, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. And I'm telling you, if you've never been in here, you would be blown away at the amount of liquor, bourbon, whiskey, and all the other rum and vodka, etc. And then the wine selection is through the roof. By the way, I just got in some Pappy Van Winkle, Ronnie. In fact, if you want to get me a Christmas gift, Ronnie, you got the 10-year-old Pappy. It's only $9.99. I don't mean $9. I mean $9.99. Right. So that's me and you exchange gifts. I want a 10-year-old Pappy. It only costs you $1,000, okay? And he's got a bunch of bottles. He already sold 2 this morning. So wow. Just tremendous here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Order some prime rib. Order some brisket, turkey, ham. I mean, but the prime ribs are special. They give you the little horseradish sauce with it. Wow. Good stuff at Tremonti's. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow. Tremonti's.com.
By the way, before we get out of here, special thanks to Tremonti's. They help support the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Donated a great Camus wine and steak gift basket. Speaking of Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, got a great event coming up. If you want to support the Hall of Fame and also have an unbelievable night out, everybody does these fundraisers, Tommy, and they do galas and they do wine tastings and they have this is something you haven't been to. It's called Friday the 13th Night Fights. It's going to be at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center on Friday night, January 13th. Featuring championship pro wrestling matches. Going to be a great show. Lots of special guests, Hall of Famers that will be maybe making some appearances in some of those Hall of Fame wrestling matchups, and a celebrity boxing match between Ryan Moranto and Casey McKenzie. 2 guys that know everybody in Baton Rouge. They're going to fight for 3 rounds at the end of the night. Trust me, 2 regular dudes just beating the crap out of each other for a good cause, raising money for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. It'll be a lot of fun. We got tables. I think we have like 2 tables left. We sold like 38 tables out of 40. Go to lasportshall.com to get tickets.
Ronnie, I got a question. When's the weigh-in for the Moranto-McKenzie matchup?
So we're actually on Friday the 13th at noon at Phil's Oyster Bar. We're having like a little mini press conference weigh-in thing there. A little thank you for our sponsors and whatnot. And is that it? Is that the $1,000 Pappy?
No, this one's only $800.
Oh, well, that's a hell of a deal.
$1,700. Pappy Van Winkle Family Reserve, $1,700. I don't want to drop this, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Whoop. No, I'm kidding you.
All right.
Guy just bought it, $1,700.
Nice. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood stock. Did they have any more left? Any more bottles left?
What?
Do you have any more bottles left?
You got a huge shit. By the way, I got a Pappy story for you. Yeah, about 2-3 years ago, when it first kind of everybody was talking about Pappy, a friend of mine was working at 18 Steak out there at LeBare's Casino and Hotel, and it was $80 for a shot of Pappy. One shot was $80. And I did it. I said, I got to see what this whiskey tastes like. So I plucked down the $80, and I didn't shoot it like college days. I sipped it, which is normally what I do with whiskey. I got to tell you, it was about as smooth and good as good could get. Was it worth $80? Yeah, because I wanted to try it. I wanted to do it, and would I do it again? Probably not, or maybe. I don't know. It depends on who was with me as whether I do it again. I'll leave that at that. You can let your mind figure that out.
Nice. All right, so the event on January 13th, go to lasportshall.com. Here's a little commercial about the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Great time to go to Natchitoches is right now in Natchitoches. Go check it out with the Christmas lights. Here, take a look.
Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest History Museum is located on the banks of the Cane River in historic downtown Natchitoches. Come check out the state's architectural marvel and stroll through the great Louisiana history of athletics. The best time to visit the museum is each summer during the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend, where heroes of the past and present come to celebrate, honor, and party with the current Hall of Fame class. For more information on how you can be a part of
All right, TK will be back tomorrow morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. Until then, everybody have a great one.
Like and share this